All right. Hello, everyone. You have stumbled upon a rare moment where a human being has decided to speak about one of the most important things that a species can consider in the void. One of the most important things that it's recommended for even modern human beings to do, and that is to do inner work. The title of this episode is The Inner Work of a Species, but I wanted to speak about the dimensions of human civilization, how I am in some sense compartmental, what the value of these dimensions are, what the possibilities of the human endeavor are, and in some sense what can happen that has not happened yet. Where is the greatness of the species going? And this question must be asked by all. Because it's quite the answer to that question is our destiny. The destiny, little did I know, I don't know why I couldn't for some reason put it together when I was younger. But it suddenly dawned on me. I suddenly realized that in movies, in shows, in sports, in novels, in everything, there was this feeling of wanting the protagonist to win. And I was duped, like many others, in thinking that the individual consciousness is the protagonist. I was under the impression that I am the protagonist of existence because it was only my existence. It was my inner realms when I was a kid. But what they hadn't told me was like, hey man, there is a greater story than any film you've watched and any internal film your mind has directed up until this point. And that is wanting, or that is a shift in the context of the protagonist. The protagonist that we want in every film we watch to attain victory is actually the whole thing. And so that was it. They couldn't make a movie about it because the budget couldn't endure. Imagine the protagonist is the human design. That means it doesn't matter, like at some point good and evil will become a pastime. Let me tell you why. Because the world will have such an attention to geometrical sophistication of how existence and experience are simultaneous. Your eyes belong to a world way bigger than the words you've ever heard. And some lions roar, in empty forests, just so emptiness knows what's there. There is a feeling that the future generations that have not been born yet are watching all of us. They are watching us. We thought it was aliens. We thought it was like some intelligence agency. No, there are superior eyes. There are many, like in certain theosophical circles, they had the idea of rays. For example, when you would hear Terence McKenna speak at the end of one of his talks, he was like, "End of ray." Do you know? And what that ray is, was that's a depiction of it. What it is attention. So I'll give you an example. Imagine, um, a, imagine there is a human being, a family man, with his family sitting in a living room, okay? And or imagine there's a president speaking, okay, and there's everybody's there listening, and suddenly out of nowhere a butterfly lands on the forehead of the president, or imagine a bird suddenly lands on the podium of this president. That bird may engage reality as simply like, okay, this is another platform I sat on, but in reality, what that bird is, in what sort of attention that butterfly on the president's forehead is universal. That would be like close to one of the closest moments of extraterrestrial. It's like you see a terrestrial species, but it behaves unlike anything you have ever seen. And so the question of free will comes into place, and we're like, what do we do with all these old past patterns, polished patterns from history and the past, right? And how do we step into modernity? And the decision really is limited to how far you can see. Angle to existence. So, this is one of those exciting episodes where I get to share with the viewers how I have envisioned the future generations' minds. When you see a human being, you see a physical, biological body. Then you see a whole psychological department to their intelligence. Let's say we're all an agent, an agent of change in the cosmic expanse. There's this cosmic activity going on, and we're agents of change. We are that intelligence in the universe that has a capacity to fall into an archetype. Once you fall into an archetype, you've become a recognizable word. So imagine right now somebody says, yo man, I'm XYZ. It's like random, there's nothing, that's not a name, right? But suddenly says, my name is Johnson. For example, like suddenly that falls into an archetype of like, do you know what I'm saying? So really what is going on is we are existence is existing, but how consciousness is experiencing existence is very simulation and dreamlike. So our minds are dreaming that existence is existing, but existence is actually existing. So it's as if like our bodies have woken up to a physical world, but the mind has not awakened to it yet. So our mind, it's like the soul is still dreaming as a mind, but it's really existing as a body. When I see human intelligence, and if this might be bizarre, I might be ridiculed for this, but the idea, the notion is the best idea deserves a voice. So until we find the best idea, there's many voices deserve to be heard. This is the idea. You look at existence, there is an outer, so okay, human beings, pretty much when you look into philosophy and the history of philosophy, you pretty much see people who are like, yo, I think this is what it is. That's what you see. Tons of claims. History is in some sense like the claim of claims that we have agreed upon. But really, there is a massive, the human intelligence is honest enough to realize that there are factors to its moment of being that are unknown. And there are factors to how it is aware. That means it's like there is known and unknown factors to how you're being intelligence in the moment. I, as one human being, got so fed up with the ambience of like, okay, we have no clue what we are, but let's tell ourselves this story as a human species and walk in that. You know, it's like, you know, if people walk in shoes, civilizations walk in stories. The story human beings tell themselves suggests where they suggests the disposition of the nature they have accepted. Free will is another way of saying because you can choose out of the options, you're neither of them until you choose. So right now, you know, let's say whoever you are listening to me, let's say you feel the odds are against you. Okay, why is this mode of thought unnecessary? Pretty much the person has to be like, the future is going to be so much more advanced than I am being right now, that my attempts at advancement would just be like the giggles of the future generations. Like there could be like, you know, time travelers right now from the future watching me giving these talks, and they're all laughing. Do you know, they're all like, you know, just giggling and laughing. They're like, yo, this human being has decided to talk about the most important idea ever, the idea of the advancement of civilization, you know. But who hears? Do you see? Like that's the incredible thing about life. You know, it took me around 2,000 lectures, 2,100 lectures to realize that there is an authority, but not in the external realms, in your inner realms. So this is why I was like, wait a minute, the way the laws that our imagination works under are the laws of this is how I would explain it. Imagine my, like I'm imagining that when I have to explain things in public, I just imagine my like future children just listening to me. How would I explain it to them? This is how I would explain it to them. I'd be like, listen up, kid. Starting from where your consciousness is, it starts from your eyes usually. So in front of your eyes, that is the outer realms. Behind your eyes, that is the inner realms. I mean, کجا داری میری? Where is consciousness going? That's the whole. Okay, all right, guys, all right. Let's add some class, elegance, cadence. I will start from here. What is important? Because usually what's the most important factor, pretty much things that by human beings as a consensus are agreed upon to have the highest value, the human attention goes to that. We are creatures conditioned in trying to recognize what's the highest value, what's the best value, what's the right thing to do. And if every human being is entering this planet, imagine how many people are being born every day, right? So all these people are being born, and at some point they have to ask themselves, what am I doing here? And that question puts upon, you know, the inquisitive soul, the questioning soul, the inquiring soul on a path where it begins to say, wait a minute, what is this game? You know, are we just emotionally on cruise control? Are we trying to get the species, yo guys, feel good all the time? That's what life means. It's like, no, fools, no, you know? There was a man named Voltaire. He had this quote, which is one of the most important quotes because it breaks and rebuilds you. And the quote is, "It is difficult to free fools from the chains they revere." So this means, yo, human being, you have to let go of everything that is meaningful to you, come to a pure moment which is equivalent to like neutrality, zero, and then you start upon a new singularity of realm. And then within that singularity, you bring forth a duality of the realm. And within the duality, there is an infinitude of possibilities. Really, what worlds are they are actually like branches. They are the fruits. Galaxies are the fruits of a tree that is so vast the human eyes, laugh upon shock. I am telling you, dear viewers, it's the future. Anybody who listens to this podcast values the future more than the past and the present, because the present is worshiping the past. I'm not talking about religion. That's a completely one, that the word worship means something else in religion. Do you know? Because I'm a man of faith personally. But what I'm trying to say is that, or I will paint the context this way: in the presence of the greatest force that has originated all phenomena and its geometry and design, you stand in this elemental video game, logging in from into the conscious waking state from the beginning of the day, and there you find yourself having a sort of physical, what being a human being is you're playing a game of the cultivation of dimensions. What that means is first understand how the biological existence works. Okay, it's an organism, it's a system. And systems, what do? They manage repetition in their expansion. So on some level, sure, a spiritual force in the presence of an incomprehensible force. I am not saying this world is devoid of divinity. Sometimes how the void is here is even divine when you think about it, right? They're like, yo, man, what's crazier than how there was a cosmos with all this geometry in it before I opened my eyes there was a space before there was a cosmos to be somewhere. So the notion of location is the greatest shackle for a being that does not know its presence in greater dimensions. The iceberg thinks it's the tip of the iceberg. You think you are what is visible. How do you know what you're invisibly being? You could see the most angelic kind appearance of an individual, and you don't know if behind that mask there is something that is even devoid of human. Do you see? There is. I can tell you this: to be human is to honor the greatest one of the greatest organizational systems that has appeared in this part of the universe. Have we forgotten that it's like out beyond our lawn? There is a cosmos. You are not a human. You are a cosmic human. This doesn't mean become a new age, color your hair and become new age. This means that in what sort of world does your greatest self deserve? That is the argument. There is no winning argument. Pretty much, what is the greatest in the self, archetype of the self, and then what is the greatest world for that self to be an archetype in? Carl Jung spoke for a reason. And there was this other author who even said something where it was like, yo, man, there is a reason. We have reason that reason will never understand. It's like there's even been Mysterian angles like that. So, some people, they speak to offend. Some people speak to change people. Let me tell you what I'm doing. I asked myself, what is the greatest type of victory? I don't want you to think that I'm not a selfish person speaking. I have my standard of selfishness is just so high, so fucking high, right? That it's as if why is there not an advanced civilization right now? Why are human beings looping in slow updating ideological programs? Oh, humanity, you are a sleeping giant, but you've awakened and you're just sitting in your bed. Do you know that's what the human species is? a sleeping giant being like, I don't feel like getting up. You know, it's like, yo, man, I've been lying on this earth. You know, I've been just existence for so long. Why should I care for a new experience? I'll just be looping existence till the end of time. And the trees are like, yo, these biological organisms have no idea, are their gratefulness is misguided. Dear humanity, this is what I think is going on, and I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying, yo, somebody's talking about this. Let's listen to it. This is my vision. It's like, this is my talk, Alan Watts. Get out of here. Man, you know, guys, you might not believe it, but I actually emailed Terrence McKenna's daughter for an interview, but she very politely, you know, said no, and I very politely, respectfully said I understand. But anyways, the inner workings of the species, okay, of a species. You know, I gotta be honest, guys. The way I give these lectures is like an archer. So I pull the bow back as far as I can, and I let go of the arrow. Where the arrow lands becomes the episode, and is the furthest, the mightiest I've been able to reach, you know, because the notion is if the idea surprises you, it will surprise others. You know, forget the word intellectual. Just everything you see as a category to life, just put the word advanced in front of it. I'm telling you, right now, you know. People, you know, they work really hard to purchase a home, you know, and they're like, yo, I'm gonna get a good home, you know, and they don't realize your standards are very high when it comes to individual life, but your standards are very low when it comes to collective life. Do you understand? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Civilization is going to teach itself. We are embarking from 2024 onwards, right? We're embarking on a revolution of education, right? Where people are going to, this is when I say the age of honest marketing is beginning, right? Honest marketing. What do I mean by this? I mean, we're gonna see to care for the deeper, greater mysteries and truths to reality is way more fascinating than looping comfort. Whoever you are, the moment you have heard one of these Mr.Within lectures, for the sake of the future generations, and the idea is like we're gonna attempt to be great, and if we can't, the future generations will live for that greatness one day, right? It's as if like, yo, my ancestors failed, I might fail too, you know, 1,000 others after me may fail, but then there will come one. Do you see? There will come a Mr.Within of that time, you know. Mr.Within honestly is like an archetype. It's kind of like, you know, it's like the spirit of the realm has chosen a microphone. And it's not the spirit of the realm. It's like, yo, do we give a fuck about the future? Or are we all just playing costume games? It's a goddamn masquerade of archetypes. Every person's being their own entity. Every person standing in their own universe. Yo, I'm this kind of person in my mind. I'm that kind of person in my mind. It's a masquerade. To live for the future means to try to seek the most advanced design. Did you know it's your birthright? Did you know that this whole time, every moment in your life you've lived up to this point, there could have been a human being doing every single thing in the most advanced, even the mistakes. That means the only difference between an advanced being making a mistake and a not advanced being making a mistake is like the mistake is way more advanced. Do you know? And let me tell you why. It's kind of like, you know what it is? It's like having a child and then civilization being a story of its own, that child believing that story, and then asking itself, yo man, why am I troubled, in a troubled civilization? The world you choose to walk in to forgive and forget the past that was just so freaked out, it had to do something. When I think of like, how can I honor my ancestors? I'll be like, yo, they did something. They moved the moment forth. Because waiting is kind of like you become a watcher of the realm. Take it from someone who, there was this one person, I don't subscribe to the idea of past lives anymore, by the way. Right now, you can limit my persona. I've decided to limit the beliefs of my persona, immediate persona. I'm a Muslim individual, you know. Keep that in mind. But when I look at geometry, it's as if for me, the idea of the advanced civilization is like God looking at its creation and being like, how great did I create you, really? Show me. Pass the test of not just proper conduct, but collective existence, right? That means there should come so many new views that it's as if, like, let's say in the future, let's say in the next 1,000 years, most likely, let's hope it's not 70% AI generated new perceptions influencing human behavior, but it's more like, let's say right now it's like 70% human beings are influencing human beings and 30% technology. When the technology becomes a part of your body, then you cannot avoid it. There may be like a lady in like Hollywood who's gotten like so many plastic surgeries on her face, and then people are like, why did you do that? And then she looks at everyone and she says there's going to come a time where everybody's going to put something in their biological organism, because the access to the technological innovation far surpasses just remaining biological. But that's not true, and we're going to see the consequences of that. So anyways, what I'm saying is right now we're living in a very, like, people think like right now, let me tell you what's going on. There's nations on planet Earth that are at war, which is effed up. That means human lives are being taken for granted. And rather than to be like, yo, you all look like each other, you all are like, you don't realize it, oh humanity, you're all the same. Trust me. What's special about human beings is not how they appear to each other. It's what value they create that far surpasses their own value. If you're a human being and you go and feed birds throughout the day, let's say you're an old person and you're like, I want to help advance civilization, Mr. Within. I don't know how. Easy. It's as easy as feeding birds. It's as easy as helping moments get further. There's a type of help which advances the moment. And then there's a type of help where the person's like, here's a boost, figure it out. I need to get to the inner workings of the species, guys. This topic is so big, I might not be able to fully finish it. So, so let me see, how would I organize my thoughts here? I say that there is eyes open. That's the beginning of the story. So first, eyes open. A moment of being is present. I think every human being is like this. This sentence is the common denominator. Good, evil, doesn't matter. Chaotic order, doesn't matter. You are a moment of being originally. Okay, that means before you do anything, you're neither a good person or a bad person. You're just an entity. So we're looking at it from a design basis. Before we're like, yo, this guy is a good driver, bad driver, we're like, let's look at the car. Let's see what a car is. So before we see what the world is, let's see what the human is. And when we look at what the human is, we notice a moment of being is present, and then there is a relationship. So really, what human life is a dynamic relationship between an awareness observer, an awareness observer, awareness-observer, and a form of observed. So what it is, what's going on right now is that I'm like, okay, my eyes have opened. That's like first step on the staircase. Second step, I'm like, okay, what's going on? I'm existing, so I'm being a body, but the way I'm aware that I'm being a body seems to far surpass my body. So it's as if I'm a mind that is the space where the body is being recognized. Okay? So that's like the starting point. It's like your spotlight, like your soul is like how there is eyes at all in the room. So I'm a mind that is the space where the body is being recognized to be a body. So how we accept our physicalism is actually requires a non-physicalism. Like imagine they said like it takes a coin to exist, but then you thought this whole time it was just one side of the coin. You thought that you were just a being that was material. What if it's two simultaneous presences? What if right now you are a biological existential? So let's say I walk into a coffee shop and you walk into a coffee shop, right? So you to me appear as an existential biological evolutionary biological organism 4.5 billion years in the making. Your ancestors did everything right and you're existing. That's the story I see to the body. Right? Every person's like a unique geometry of existence, you know? Technically, every person is a celebrity, but if everybody could pay attention to them. To advance the future of your species is one of the greatest honors. Never forget this. It far surpasses the agenda of the individual. It's pretty much like, yo, I'm in the presence of a world. In front of my eyes, there's an outer realm. When I close my eyes, I access my memories, what I consider to be thoughts and abstractions, imaginings, and all that. Right? So what it is that the way the biological organism existence, the way experienced existence is working is that in front of your eyes, you have to think of yourself as an object. Behind your eyes, before anybody says your name, you're the presence of a moment of being. And believe it or not, you are attributeless until you move and speak. So there is no such thing as silence being weird. Silence has been like half the world. The reason the mind can reanimate itself constantly, it's like the person stops talking, says something new. You see that pause is kind of like the release of a new version of the mind's activity. To me, I like the idea of aspects. To me, when I think about my attention, pretty much like, okay, all right, you are a biological organism sitting in a car with a laptop in front of you, and you're talking to cyberspace and you have no clue who's listening. So it's an archaic form of cyberspace communication. If I knew who was listening, that would be way different. Or if I was speaking on stage and I could see who's listening, that would be different. Pretty much reality is compartmentalized into past, present, future because it has a dimension of time. So when you bring into time, then people suddenly get another dimension of value. So I'm like, well, we can't do anything about the past. It's past. All we could do about the past is teach it to the future to teach it in our educational systems at a hefty price. They're like, the past is past, but not unless you sell it as education, right? The world needs to update quick. You need to update very quickly as an individual. And you may ask, Mr.Within, how fast and with what depth of ambition should I have? I would say depends on what if you honor your existence or not. Everything in life, the behavior of the person depends on that. If you were raised in a world where they said every person you see, their expression will lead to the advanced civilization. Every person you see, they will have something to do. They will, at some point in the future, all of our DNAs are building a giant project together. Do you see? That means I may not meet you, but our grandchildren may be in the same sky school. Do you know? What I have realized is that I am an energy here. What do I do with this energy? Okay, temporary energy. Every person is a battery. So what does this 100-year-old battery do? 100 years of battery power. Where does this go? What does it serve? What does it advance? And as much as it's like, yo, live a happy life and be nice and all of this, you can live the happiest life oblivious of anything outside of the world you've created. You could go into your own cave of luxury, and there will be whatever, you may do whatever you want, believe whatever, but there will always be this eerie feeling, in the background of all our moments where we're like, what about everyone else? What about 8 billion human beings on a rock in the middle of nowhere? From a humble position, I embark on this path to wonder about this, and I come to a position where I'm like, what? The leaders of humanity are not futurists. That's the scariest thing. Do you understand? To be a futurist means to be an inventor. I am speaking honestly to all those people who their energy will lead to the invention of the greatness of humanity. Because let me tell you what's going on. Life is about the great performance. It's a performance review. But it's a performance review beyond the world based on a narrative of shape. To be a successful human being, you need to, in some sense, be able to step out of the geometry your mind imposes on the world, to stand in that unknown silence and stillness, and from that unknown stillness and silence, listen to everything else. So do you see, the human being is simultaneously the soul has made the body an actor on the stage of the mind. Because we have free will, the individual is building its life. There is no smart or stupid. It's just what is the level of progress in accordance to the furthest vision. If you're someone who you have no clue what's outside of the room of your mind, then you are a reactionary entity. Don't be a reactionary entity. Why? Because you are, then it will be kind of like you will be managed by higher forces. Any human consciousness that acts weak, you will like you are just literally ringing the bell to be managed by higher forces. But when you realize there is only one, that means think of forces being branches. It's like there was one seed that led to this tree. The seed of manifestation, just like imagine you're working for a company and you have no clue who the higher ups are, who higher management is. The way I treat being a Muslim on earth is like realizing, okay, there is an administrator to this system, because it has design. So the logic will be, yo, world has design, okay, systems have design. Who created this system of design? What sort of presence are you being to your world? The attitude I have is that I'm gonna live every day as if an advanced extraterrestrial species from the Andromeda galaxy landed, and I was in the middle of my job, the middle of whatever moment of my life, they would be like, okay, this creature noticed our entrance. Do you see? You need to have an alertness that does not try to scan the room. It is the room. You see, it's like there. I would say maybe like 22% of the human population has attained pure concentration. You know what pure concentration is? Pure concentration is that you are trying to, your attention is on a phenomena, and you're trying to see, what am I looking at, as if you are asking this question from whatever you are, soul, brain, a limited dimension, multiple dimension, whatever. Once you suddenly get startled by how much of your life is on auto cruise, then you understand the power of self-awareness. But what is this awareness leading? So once you have cultivate, let's say I say self-awareness and you're like, Mr. Within, I am the most self-aware individual. Do you know who you're talking to? And I'll be like, honestly, I don't. It's a live stream. But but anyways, if they said, what is the secret to greatness? I would say it's right there in front of you, the word greatness. Greatness means every factor to the realm moved in a great way. You see, that means it's like chess. When you play chess, the pawns are children. They have the potential to become a queen. They have a potential to become a knight. They have a potential to become a rook. Do you see what I'm saying? They have potential to become a bishop. So the child is potential of humanity, honored, protected, guided, preserved, given the greatest resources at all times. Because what the child sees could be so far ahead that it's like, sometimes I was like, yo, why are so many people, so many young people becoming famous? And I realized why. Because they are born without archetypes and algorithms that are unnecessary. That means I could see the deepest sophisticated lecture on what existence really is, having like millions of views, and I could see like seeing like children, playing in an advanced playground where they're co-creatively building, right? It's like that could get like millions of views. Really, what it is once you've gotten bored of being aware of yourself, you become aware of others, and you suddenly realize it's never about knowing someone. You can never know people. This is my firm belief. That means my wedding vows are going to be like vows from another dimension, you know? The inner workings of the human species. This is honestly the vision I had. This is how far the arrow went. I asked myself, I've cared about like how the advancement of physical civilization will look like, but it occurred to me, how will human beings behave? Let's say we fast forward exactly from this moment 100 years into the future, 200 years into the future, 300 years, 400 years, 1,000 years, 2,000 years, 10,000 years, a million years. What will be left? And you know what will be left? A species that passed the challenges of the room of existence. We leveled up beyond the cosmos. That is the superiority of an advanced civilization. You're not an individual. You have never been. It's just what the individual life is, the training for the collective service. The future generations are watching you. There is no such thing as spirit guides. It is only that which is waiting for your performance so it can enter. It's as if like literally the inner extinction would be like human beings stop behaving as individuals. And we're like, what the fuck? Nobody has ambition. And so that's why civilization isn't updating, because we're so busy trying to survive in the first prototype of what we thought was the best thing. How sad is that shit? That is so sad. What's sad is the unnecessary winning. It's bizarre. It's fear. Like, you don't understand. There's a fear of like an inevitable exit out of the realm, but then there is a fear of something great can happen, but in the space where decisions must be made, an inefficient one was made. Terrifying. So the armies that will in some sense bring forth the greatest revolution of human psychology on earth will be human beings who will be behind their eyes. They are already standing in advanced civilizations. In front of their eyes, they're just telling people how we can get there. That's, give it 200 years. That's how that will be the human political representative. Politicians will become the most advanced beings in existence, but they're not advanced because of like, yo, this politician got like a chip installed in its brain and it said all the right things. Cyberspace has its own destiny. Nature has its own destiny. Human morality has its own destiny. Religion has its own destiny. These are all perspectives. What you are starting from is your perception. Your perception is cultivated by the standard of your mind, by the decency of the presence of your soul, by the gentleness of your being, by your ability. If in one dimension you're limited, in the other dimensions become limitless, and then see if you're still limited. You see, the mind has an ability to act upon its promise. And we give so many promises to others, but never to ourselves. Do you see? And for me, I don't know why, but there came a night in the middle of giving these talks, I just fathomed that my future self came to me, and I was just like, whoa. That moment where I'm smoking a cigarette in my balcony and my future self came to me, and it just hit me on the head and it left. It just slapped me on the head and it left. And I was like, whoa, did my future self just slap me? And my life changed after that. There's going to be so many films about how human beings are entering cyberspace. It's going to far surpass the image of a child trapped in cyberspace. It's going to far surpass that. Technology has an impurity to it, which I as a soul hold my distance with it. There is an impurity in technology. What does that mean? That means too much freedom becomes disorganized chaos. There needs to be structure. That means we need 8 billion not surviving strong animals. What we need is 8 billion advanced designers, coordinated effort. Pretty much, I would say, the era of the efficientizers. Okay, these are individuals who, if you ask them, who are you, it doesn't matter. It's that to be assured that the most efficient opportunity is being granted to all. It would mean if you're walking, it means if you're in the line, like, okay, let me tell you something that's like open to my psyche doing, right? Imagine you're sitting at a table with an extra chair. You look at this family of four that comes to a table where it's half booth and there's only one chair, right? Suddenly you get up and you lift the chair and you put it in the place where it should be on the other table. And that family thanks you and you readjust your seating and you go back to your own table. What did that mean? That means consciousness found an update. It implemented it instantly onto the next update. So it's like advanced decision made, great, on to the next advancement. The secret to advancement, which it was out of my ego. People say don't have an ego, but the ego is a technology. It's like, don't have a phone and you'll be an enlightened being. And I'll be like, sure, man. You know, I could see that. I could see people being enlightened without the necessity of a phone, but there are those who their enlightenment requires them to physically relocate, and then there are those who've understood the nature of the physical realm is not really physical. So it doesn't matter where you're existing, it's how you're existing. So it would kind of be like there was a secret reverse to how Nietzsche said, if whoever has a how can survive any why or something. Excuse me, whoever has a why can survive anyhow. I'm saying the other way, the first version. So where it has come to has been me as a human being being like, man, before I have kids, I want them to enter an advancing earth. Think of it this way. We had developed countries and we have developed countries. So we have advancing countries and advanced countries, but there is no such thing as advancement nationally. So when we become a nation of humanity arises, in my sci-fi, I called it N-O-H. It's like Noah without an A. It's all sound and symbolism. The symbolism is allocated to a physical existentialism. So you have subjective symbolism linked to physical objectivism. So you are an entity. So if we were to like measure your power level as an entity, what can you physically do in the outer realms? And then what can your inner realms physically do in the outer realms as well? So that's your potential, right? And then there's something called vision. So vision is different than potential. Like, let's say, okay, whoever's listening, there's two people listening. Help me make this interactive, guys. So tell me in the chat section, write one thing that you're really good at. I'm asking this from the viewers. Just write one thing you're really good at. Let's say somebody is good at music. It's as if they, and it's somebody who can't play an instrument comes to someone who can, and the student says, how can I learn to play this instrument? And the guy says, listen, kid, if you want to learn this instrument, you will. That's it. If you see the incredible music this instrument creates, you will want to learn it. So similarly, if you can see how incredible the advancement of civilization is, you will start advancing it. And this was Mr. Within strategy. My strategy is way deeper than this because there's way more variables on different topics that I've found a strategy to. I've pretty much, for now, because I'm not, how can I tell you, because I'm not in the collective spotlight yet. I'm kind of like this eagle who hasn't, like if cyberspace, if popular mainstream media was like something happening on the ground on Earth, I'm kind of like an eagle that is still close to the clouds. He has not descended yet to get involved in the actual, front lines of the physical realm. It's pretty much, I have this attitude, how far can my mind see about a situation, and then I physically animate in that situation. So once the inner vision is adjusted, the body knows what to do. There's no such thing as confidence. There's just people who know what to do and people who don't. That's what it has always been. There has never been such a thing as confidence. Confidence is just something we say to people who've been emotionally hurt. Let me tell you what it is. What it is somebody came to Steve Jobs and they're like, yo, Steve Jobs, are you like a fascist at work? Is it kind of like my way or Steve's way? Or, excuse me, Steve's way, or like get the fuck out of my company way? Do you know? Excuse my language, but you know, the world is being pushed towards an advancement. So Steve Jobs said, no, man, I'm not like some crazy fascist. What I do is I gather a group of advanced people and I ask them, come up with ideas, guys. What do you think the best idea here is? And we find the best idea, and the best idea wins. Once you understand that, there's no such thing as confidence. It's as if, how does the moment usher itself forth? How like, think of your ancestors. One of your ancestors probably was a soldier in an army, or a general, or an emperor, whoever, right? What I know is that kings had so many children that there is many royal, like, let's say there's a lot of royal blood all over the planet. Do you see what I'm saying? It's bizarre, but everyone's technically royalty, theoretically. You know, at some point, the lines of the DNA were like, you know, it's like an empty piece of paper, and you with limited space, and you start drawing lines in it. Eventually, the lines will hit each other once you draw curvy lines. The inner workings of the species is you wondering about how you can update your responsibility level. This character called Goku in this anime Dragon Ball Z. There was also this character named Vegeta, and the idea behind it was that what Vegeta did not understand, and the reason he wasn't progressing as far as Goku, was Goku realized he didn't need ideological limitation in his training. The difference between Vegeta and Goku was that Goku was training purely. He was purely focused on the training. Vegeta's training was limited to what his ego wanted, what the idea of him wanted, more than what he could do. Anyways, guys, the inner workings of an advanced civilization is the idea of how advanced can your world be. In honor of an advanced world, advance your civilization. You know, everything that Mr. Within is saying is a finger pointing to how advanced the future can be. And how responsible can you be of the future of your existence, of the existence of your species. When you become a human being and you say, my species, you know, imagine aliens invade. It's like, how dare, you know, some unnecessary factor, you know, disturb my species. Like this power comes in. Because you want to see the greatness of this force and something interfering with its pure advancement. This is why Goku said power comes when there is a necessity, not because you have a desire. Those people were like, yo, I desire something. You're like being kind of ghoulish. Do you know what I'm saying? So once the ghoulish desires evaporate because the commands of an advanced civilization, imagine there were these giant bells, right? Imagine this next level, like imagine this podcaster managed to get all the billionaires, you know, in existence to create this giant futuristic cyberspace building, the biggest building ever been made, which were these giant bells. The building was constantly like a pendulum moving, two different bells, right? And it was emanating the most incredible sound a human being could hear, right? And we started creating an advanced civilization by bringing forth advanced vision, where like, how dare like a freaking animal virus spread among people, but not the greatest ideas known to man, Rise, mankind, rise, but rise in the presence of that which is the greatest sky. The difference is that you are rising in the presence of greatness, not devoid of greatness, so your ego has to carry the burden of the world. You know, in Greek mythology, there was the idea of this dude who had to carry the weight of the world on its back and push this boulder up a hill or something, right? And every time you would get up there, this eagle would come and eat his liver, right? And he would fall down and get crushed, and then the bull he would have to. That's literally Greek mythology was like that. Dude's like, yo, this story perfectly depicts what's happening to the personality every day, what's happening to our psychology every day. We wake up, we have a sense of self, an archetypal psychological self. We have behavioral patterns unlocked in accordance to the type of self we've routinely been, and we think that's the meaning of life. The older generations need to listen to the future generations. The future generations need to act as if they will one day be the older generations. You see, it's just we're passing the torch. I'm attempting 10,000 talks, you know, in the hope that some mightier individual will come and attempt 100,000 talks. You know, hopefully not artificially. I am so privileged. You know why? Because I got a sense of what's happening to the whole thing before I was like, what's going to just happen to me? Like, that's such a boring story, because I honestly think I'm a really boring person. Like, truly. People are like, why? Because at the core presence of how I'm being an intelligent being, it's an instance. That means it's like an instantaneous being, but in how it's being instantaneously, it has the ability to simulate reality. You don't understand what I'm doing. I'm doing what every fiction writer and every game designer, every movie filmmaker has ever done, which is to create a world, and not to bring a world to life as if that world has not life. It's to release the life of the world. Release the greatest potentials of your environment, your community, whoever you are. Let's say you're the president of a nation hearing me. Let's say you're like a kindergarten teacher. You have to, in some sense, walk as if not fearing who watches you, but be like, yo, world, watch me. Why? Because this whole thing has to update. It doesn't matter if I say it or not. Do you know, it doesn't matter who says it. It's that when the future becomes important, benevolence becomes the immediate response to all lower levels of life. So you must be kind to that which you are superior. If you right now truly know yourself to be advanced, the most advanced being you know, that renders you benevolent to every lesser being. It's a very egotistical view, but if you have that's what the geometry would be rendered as. The secret that your eyes are trying to find in front of them could be a secret they are being behind your eyes. There is no behind your eyes like my inner realms. Yo, is this Narnia behind my eyes? No. The inner realms is how life echoes as a subject. I see something, I close my eyes for like a few seconds, I can imagine still see it. How can I see when my eyes are closed? When this question enters our lives, this is a question I'm very proud of. I am honored by discovering this and bringing it forth here. When you ask this question, what does life deserve? You ask yourself, what did life deserve in the past? And you're like, we were fucking savages. They're like, yo, you want to read a history book? It's like, yo, do I want to see a film of like billions of people dying? You look at the present and you see you're among life, but there's also people dying in the present. So we are a species that is not under attack like from some extraterrestrial force. We are under attack by Our mind wanting something better, but the circumstance limiting us. So many people say discipline is the key. I say it doesn't, discipline is robotic. It's the advancement of the context that is the key. That means I'm an explorer. The context doesn't satisfy me. Doesn't matter where I was born. Do you know, if my consciousness was found in some lesser life form, I'd be by higher life forms just watching silently. Do you know, if I was a higher life form beyond this life form, I would in some sense be trying to be like, yo, get up here. Do you know? Try to wonder, be fearless when it comes to how far your intelligence can advance. Because nobody knows. Somebody can call you stupid. It's like, how do they know though? Nobody has your eyes. Somebody calls you smart. How do they know? Who nobody has your eyes. Somebody calls you a fool. How do they know? They don't have my eyes. You see, it's like worlds who are present in one world. It's so video game like how consciousness is interacting in biology that I feel to be human is to be present in divine jurisdiction. Divine jurisdiction means the mind can never know, which renders it a Mysterian universe. You're in a Mysterian world. You know what that means? That means there are unknown variables that will never be known because the design is superior. The advancement of civilization is the future's birthright. The human being can pretty much do work. The work can be divided between outer work and inner work. Inner work is where's the mind going. Outer work is where's the body going. That's pretty much it. Now you can see this pattern on a bigger scale. Okay, what is the inner work of the species? What is the outer work of the species? The outer work of the species is pretty much the pilots of consciousness who are like piloting civilization. It's like if Earth was a spaceship, like Buckminster Fuller and Marshall McLuhan said, those who are looking outside, who are like, where's the spaceship going? They are doing outer work. Those who are like, yo, what are the crew members doing? They're doing inner work. The reason I don't want to be a politician is because I want to do the outer work. When I get old, maybe, I don't know, I'll go in politics and I'll be like, guys, are we serious? And they'll be like, yes, we are. And I'll be like, man, politics isn't for me. I'm too silly of a person to go into politics, actually. They'll be like, what's your campaign? You know, it's going to be mandatory every day for every person on earth to exercise. And if they have a medical condition, they shouldn't, but it should be mandatory. That exercise should be service to everyone. So we should connect work, exercise, and service. Ask not what your world can do for you, but what your attention can do for the totality of being. You know, I don't think I'm just speaking to people. I feel I'm speaking to private realms. The story you tell yourself is your life. That story has detail, image, audio file, sound file, video file. Your mind is a story, is a journey. You are a journeyer, and I am a journeyer. And I cannot claim I know your journey, and you cannot claim that you know mine. But the advancement of 8 billion journeys to unite under the greatest story ever told, the advanced civilization, the advancement of civilization under the most advanced truth, the most advanced God. God is the most advanced force. It's me and you are speaking not on the administrator room. Imagine like there's departments, like there's concentric spheres. So the concentric sphere that I'm giving this talk is not close to management. It's not close to upper transcendental management. And then let's say, how can I say it? We are in lower management. Manifestation, geometry is a lower manifestation. The mind's infinitude is different than the soul's eternitude. Anyways, thank you for listening. And as just something for viewers to do, this is not like a meditation. It's kind of like something I'm recommending for 8 billion human beings to do when it comes to advancing civilization. I want you in every moment, whatever you're doing. It could be washing dishes, it could be programming, it could be whatever. It could be doing parkour, whatever you're doing. Ask yourself, what is the most advanced way the moment can happen? And like a patient chess player, once you find a good move, okay, understand it, now find another good move, another. And it's really about information accumulation to changing circumstances. When you wake up in the morning and you feel the future generations are waiting for your greatest effort, that's a completely different life. Welcome to the advanced civilization. The civilization 2.0 is the destiny of mankind. And civilization 2.0, I have my own vision of it, but there's 8 billion of us, so there's 8 billion versions of civilization 2.0. For example, it would be I'm civilization 2.0, maybe my brother's reality is civilization, 2.1. Or 2.0 is my family, and then 2.1. Anyways, guys, these are all visions. Pretty much I'm saying wonder about the most advanced. You may be surprised by your findings. And maybe, you listen to these talks of mine, something advanced happens. That's when you go and find the email in the about section and write me a letter, like an old school letter. Like imagine if back in the day where the birds were used in like transporting like communication. Imagine you write an old school letter and you like email it. I would instantly respond to those. Imagine like a Venetian like format of a letter, like in, I don't know, the 1700s. So just write a letter, an honest letter, and I will, respond. The same way you write the letter, I will respond with the same tone. And then gravity reminds you to continue your episode. Okay. All right, guys. Anyways, the inner workings of the human species are literally, what are we doing? What is the greatest subjective context we can give to our world before functioning in it? Figure that out, and let me know. Thank you.